The Mississippi River, also known as the Mighty Mississippi, is one of the most well-known rivers in the United States. This great river is approximately 2,350 miles long and hits 10 different states from north to south. The river source comes from Lake Itasca in northern Minnesota. At Lake Itasca, this river is between 20 and 30 feet wide, which is the narrowest stretch for its entire length. The widest part of the Mississippi can be found off a town near Benton, Minnesota, where it is wider than 11 miles. Now, communities up and down the river use the Mississippi to obtain fresh water, to discharge their industrial and municipal waste, for recreational activities, and many other things. The Mississippi River is a great source of enjoyment for many people and a big resource that many people rely on, which is why it is important to keep the river clean and safe. One might have a hard time believing that the Mississippi is a great resource and value because we are in the U.S. and have access to many different resources. So, why do we care so much about one resource? According to the National Park Service, they say, it's hard to find good figures on water use for the whole Mississippi River, but there are some clues. A study done in January of 2000, published by the Upper Mississippi River Conservation Committee, states that close to 15 million people rely on the Mississippi River or its tributaries in just the upper half from Minnesota to Illinois. The Environmental Protection Agency simply says that more than 50 cities rely on the Mississippi for daily water supply. This goes to show that the Mississippi is a big asset to many people and communities up and down the river. With this great river of the U.S., one would think that people would work to maintain its beauty and keep the river up to par to hold its name the mighty Mississippi, and because so many people use it and rely on it. But there is a huge problem, and that problem with this river is not all that great. There's a big problem with pollution. Pollution is both a hard and serious problem the world faces on a daily basis at a local and a global scale. Focusing on the Mississippi specifically, pollution comes from many different sources and from many different areas, so it can be hard to track down the specific causes of pollutions. But what was found as the biggest source of pollutions in the Mississippi is toxic chemicals, which is going to be the focus as we look on why this is such a big issue. According to an article done by Turner, he even says water quality changes are coincided with increased fertilizer use. And an article done by the WDSU News on the Mississippi River stated that pollution has a big impact on our health, our waterways, our seafood, and our economy locally. Overall, nationwide, there are about 232 million pounds of toxic chemicals released into our waterways by industrial facilities alone. The Mississippi River is the third worst among the top 50 waterways when it comes to toxic discharges. These toxic chemicals are being released into the Mississippi daily and is harming the water quality greatly. The reason why chemicals are such a big deal and an important issue is because they do not affect the Mississippi River only. They go even to a larger scale. Excess nutrient loadings from across the basin cause water quality problems within the river locally, but these problem loadings also result in nutrient over-enrichment further downstream and are the primary cause of the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, says an article done by the National Academy of Sciences. Now, breaking down these chemical pollutants even more, we can find that there are two chemicals that are the most prominent in the Mississippi: nitrogen and phosphorus, which mainly come from farm waste runoff. Nitrogen is a colorless and odorless chemical that makes up about 78% of the Earth's atmosphere, which is why it's hard to find that it's toxic. But when this is found in abundance, it does become toxic, and it's hard because you can't see it. And also, like nitrogen, phosphorus is similar, as in it is a pretty common element, but when it is found in so much excess, it becomes harmful and toxic to the waterway and life in the water. There are many more chemicals that contribute to making the Mississippi toxic, but those are just two of the most common that are focused on. Now, because there are so many chemicals coming into the water, it is not only polluting the water itself, it's also killing all life in the water. Nancy Rabalis, a marine scientist and executive director of the Louisiana University's Marine Consortium, says, "We're expecting probably the largest ever amount of hypoxia. That's a prediction based on the amount of nitrogen coming down the river. Now, it's hard to solve this pollution problem because there are no strict laws that limit it or make it illegal, so farmers and industries can't just dump chemicals into the river. So they just continue to do their jobs and create this waste runoff, which is a big problem. And now, the biggest help to this problem is right now just raising awareness and educating people on the causes of this. Many people are taking action and trying to raise awareness about just how polluted this river is. And one big act that was taken was a group of indigenous women went as far as walking the entire length of the Mississippi. The walkers and their supporters left Lake Itasca State Park on March 1st after a traditional Ojibwe water ceremony where they collected a pail full of clear, fresh water and they carried it the entire 1,200 miles to where the river empties into the Gulf. It's there where they poured the pail into the mucky Gulf waters and, like they said, giving the Mississippi River a drink of herself. This was done by Sharon Palmer, a writer for the Mississippi Valley Publishing. Walking the Mississippi is just one example on what has been done to raise awareness. There has been numerous other things done to help raise awareness, but more needs to be done in order to bring this issue to a bigger scale and try to solve it. The Mississippi needs to be made for human use and also for wildlife in and around the areas. More action should be taken, but for now this is the current state of the water quality, which is very polluted, very mucky, very unsafe in a lot of areas.